Hey guys, good morning, everybody. Today is Wednesday, February 22nd. It is 6:23 right now. Market's going to open in about 7 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and set up this room real quick, and then we will get started shortly. So just a couple things here to update, and we should be on our way. All right, a couple more things here. All right. All right, everything looks good to go. Let me get this link sent out to you guys here in the premium. All right, perfect. People are making their win right now. So I got a few moments for people to join. All right, guys, as people make their way in, I'm gonna get a few moments for people to join. Like people are starting to trickle in. It's got to post this link in one last place, our social media, and we should be good to go. All right. All right, one last place, and looks like we're ready to get started. All right, we're good. All right, guys, morning, everybody. Today's Wednesday, February 22nd. It is 6:25 right now. Market's going to open in about 5 minutes. So I got this link sent out to everybody so far. Let's see who's here at the moment. So let me just scroll up real quick. Hey, Karen, how's it going? Morning, Karen. Morning, Slava. Morning, Peter. Morning, Kenny. Morning, Shaka. Morning, Martha. Morning, Johnny. Morning, Maria. Morning, Shannon. All right, guys, looks like about half you guys are here so far. Morning, Rashida. Morning, AR. All right, guys, looks like we're good to go. Morning, D, Daniel. All right, so looking over here on the higher time frame, let's start on the 1 hour, 30 minute, and 10 minutes. So looking over here on the 1 hour, it's currently bearish right now since price is below the pivots. Trend meter is red, pivots are angling down. Here on the 30 minute, it's still technically bearish right now, but it's starting to go in between the pivots. So it's not necessarily a very strong sell bias. However, it's still a sell bias. So with that said, we have a sell bias over here on the 1 hour, somewhat sell bias here on the 30 minute. The 10 minute over here starting to shift to the upside for a bullish bias. However, I don't know how long that'll hold for. This might just swing back down. So we'll see what happens in the next couple minutes or so. Market's going to open in about 3 minutes, but there's no overall direction here with regard to bias on the higher time frames. Looking over here on the lower time frames, price is currently bullish on the 10 minute, bullish on the 5 minute, and currently bearish here on the 1 minute. This is the trade that I took pre-market. It was a momentum scalp variation. I mean, it was a pretty solid entry. It wasn't too bad. I mean, everything kind of lined up perfect. So I just entered it right away. Volume was also above average. So like, for example, right here, this is the entry. So this buy signal over here was a momentum scalp failure. Price came up, rejected off the pivot, or sorry, not the pivot, rejected off the sessions, came back down, And then it closed below here. These entries didn't come in order though. So typically the momentum scalp variation comes before the momentum scalp, but this one came right before it. So again, today, a bit of an iffy movement in the market, but I saw this play out right here. I took it, went straight to profit target right after. I didn't trigger it right away. I had to wait a little bit, but then it did trigger it right after right there. So that's the entry that I took pre-market. That's where I locked in my 1,000 profit right there on my FTMO, and then 1,000 profit right there on my MFF number 1. Same with MFF number 2 and MFF number 3, of course. So, all right, that's pretty much it for that right there. Hey, Kevin, how's it going? Morning. Morning, Jay. Morning, Barack. Let's see. Trend meters, or Vince is asking, hey, can you really quick over your trend meter settings? They're all set to chart, Vince. So if you go to your trend meter down below, they're just all set to chart. That should be it for pretty much all the time frames. So just go to your settings, set them all to chart, and you should be good to go. All right, guys, market is now open right here. Laura's asking, was it the trend meter bullish on the 5-minute? Was it? I don't know. I wasn't paying attention at that time. It might have been. It might have been, but it was shifting down. I wasn't looking on the short time frames. I was looking on the longer time frames. So my analysis here was because this was obviously very strong for a sell. The others are to follow. The bullish push over here was just temporary, as you guys can see. And this is like the beginner way of like analyzing things, right? So like if you guys are a beginner trader and you guys aren't really familiar with like how to anticipate where price is going, look where price is going now, right? Price was bullish, but it was temporarily bullish because price has been bearish pretty much all day. Right here, just for that like 1 hour or so, price pushed up, but price was coming back down. So my entry was taken around here. So the trend meter it doesn't dictate where price is going. We already knew price was going to come down, right? If you see over here, market is now open, price is coming down, right? Why is it coming down? Because if you look on the higher time frames, it's bearish. There's no reason to look for a buy there. So if you guys are a beginner and you guys don't understand how to identify that, that's completely fine. But this is a clear example as to like why I wasn't looking for a buy, because the higher time frames here are always going to be leading. So just keep that in mind, guys. It's really not that difficult. It's difficult if you guys don't understand it, but the more and more that you guys practice and you guys actually look at this stuff, it's pretty simple, right? Because you look over here on the 1 hour and 30 minute. Of course, the 10-minute here is bullish right now, but I already knew price was going to come down. Why did I know price was going to come down? Because this is super obvious here, right? Price is not shifted here on the higher time frames. So just a heads up, guys, when you guys are analyzing this stuff, it's fine if you guys don't understand how to analyze or predict, because you can't just base everything off the trend meter. I always remind people here that the trend meter is probably the weakest identifier of trend. This is like a lazy way for someone to identify trend, right? The pivots are more accurate because you can see where price is actually going back and forth. That's the main reason why I created the trend meter, for people who don't want to do any work, right? Because you just look down at the color. But realistically, this only shows you what's happening short term. Long term, price is obviously bearish. If you look on the higher time frames, it's bearish here, and then pretty much across the board over here, price is coming down below the pivots. So just a heads up, guys, because I had a couple people comment on that, asking about the trend meter. Trend meter is probably the worst, but not the worst, but it's like the last thing you should look at. You should look at where price is currently at. And then the trend meter below, you can see that the trend meter is laggy. So like sometimes price will already be shifting up, but it's still red down here, or price will be above and coming back down, but it'll still be green. So just keep that in mind, guys. You guys can't base everything off like one confluence. That's why we have multiple confluences here. Nothing's based off the trend meter. Trend meter is just one of the confluences to look for trend. So just keep that in mind moving forward, guys. And make sure that you look at everything from a full picture. Like, especially if you're analyzing on the shorter time frames, make sure that you're looking on the higher time frames, because higher time frames are always going to be leading. Anyways, there's no entries for us to take right now, guys. Christian said, I'm so sorry, Sean. Good morning. Can you repeat that? Just rewatch the session later, Christian, or I'll explain it later. We're looking for trades now. Market is now open. So something as basic as that, just what I said was to not focus on just the trend meter, right? If you're only looking at the trend meter and you're not looking at the pivots, then you're not looking at the full picture of things. Yeah, no, it's okay. So other than that, guys, we're going back to the charts over here. Market is now open. I'm not going to be answering any questions for the moment. If we have some downtime, I'll answer questions. But right now, we're going to focus on trading. So market is now open. There's opening price right there. Let me check for the news this morning as well. There was no news pre-market. That's why I took the trade earlier as well. But over here on Wednesday, we have news coming up over here at 11. It's Fed meetings today. Well, the Fed meeting minutes are coming out at 11. That's pretty much it. We have the G20 meetings happening all day today. Today's pretty much a Fed day. We have Fed meeting minutes. We have Fed member Williams speaking at 2. Tomorrow's like the actual FOMC, I believe. Actually, no, there is no FOMC this week. I thought there was an FOMC, but it's just the meeting minutes that are coming out today. So yeah, let's go back to the charts. So there's nothing for us to look at right now. Looking across the board over here, again, and I'll just remind you right now what I just mentioned, Christian, because I'm going to explain it again real quick. What I just mentioned earlier was to not focus only on the trend meter, right? That's a singular way of analyzing the charts. If you're looking for a trend, you have to look at the pivots. You also have to look where price is currently at. I mean, if you guys listen to my analysis every day, I always mention to look at 3 things, right? Look at where price is with regard to the pivots, if it's below or above. Look at the pivots, whether they're angling down or up, and then look at the trend meter. Don't just look at the trend meter, because you know, someone messaged me earlier and was asking about the trend meter. And they were asking, like, you know, the trend meter was green on all time frames, on the shorter time frames. Why weren't I looking for a buy? Because obviously price was in between the pivots. So just keep that in mind, guys. The trend meter is not the end all be all for let me fix this. For the trend, you have to use multiple confluences, because the trend meter here is also laggy. It's quick on the 1 minute. That's why you'll see them bounce around a lot. Like you can see here on the 1 minute, it'll go from like green to blue to red to blue to green to etc. But if you look on the higher time frames, this is going to show you where it's really at, because you can see here that price is still coming down, right? So looking over here on the 30 and the 1 hour, price is below the pivots. Trend meter is red. Pivots are angling down. Odds of this following on the 10 and the lower time frames over here, 5 and 1, are very likely. That's probably what's going to happen. So just, you know, obviously something to keep in mind, guys. Price is dumping super heavily. And they are, I mean, I wouldn't recommend chasing this drop right here, guys. I was kind of tempted to hop in for a sell right now, but I'm definitely not going to do it yet because of how price is currently moving. Yeah, there's no direction here. I mean, I think price will come down. Overall, I think price is bearish, but at the moment right now, I'm not looking to take anything just yet. So I'm looking over here on the 30 minute. This candle still has 24 minutes, so it has a lot of time. But if we get the wick rejection off here on the top, and then we also get something here on the 10, odds of it dropping down further are very likely. So, but this has a lot of time left on it, so I'm not really looking at that just yet. I'm going to stick to these shorter time frames right now. Let's see. I do think price is going to come down at least a little bit right here. This is enough for a speculative move for a sell, which I took. I'm not going to call that trade, but I just took it real quick. So the reason why I took this for a speculative move, guys, is because I saw the wick rejection over here on the 10. I mean, sorry, the 5. So I saw the wick rejection off the top right here on the 5, and I saw this right here off the 1, and I saw it bouncing off the opening price. So if you saw this right here, this pattern, I just saw it real quick. So I entered a quick sell, entered my TP, got out for 100 pips. I saw price drop right here, retest of the opening price, and continuation right there. So I saw this pattern right here, and I saw it line up here on the 5. I took it for a quick 100 pips, locked in 1,060 off that trade there. Not an official trade, but speculation. If you guys listen to my analysis, you guys will kind of get an idea of what I'm looking for here. And it was also in the direction of a sell. So like I'm only looking for sells right now. If I see any rejections towards the top and I see it coming back down, I'm definitely going to be looking for a sell here. The reason I'm looking for a sell is because we have a strong sell bias here on the 1 hour and 30 minute. And we have this right here currently pending. So I took that for a quick sell right there, locking 1,060 off my FTMO. Or I'll just post my profits over here as well. Yeah, C6 said, please go through the training videos and not only the YouTube videos on how each indicator works. It'll literally change your life. Yeah, no, definitely C6, 100%. All right, so price is dropping back down right here. I do see this correcting back down, or not correcting back down, but continuing back down. So now that we have price kind of below the same pattern that I looked at earlier, I think this is going to continue dropping even lower from that point. So we'll see where this, ends up going right here. So here are my profits so far. This candle here hasn't closed yet, so I would hold off on any sells at the moment. So I'm mainly looking over here on the 5-minute. I'm looking for this candle here to close in the next minute or two. And then if this here closes and this here closes as well, then I think this is probably going to drop further. But at the moment, it just hasn't closed yet, right? So it still has a minute and 12 left on it. So it closes. I'm just looking for a top wick rejection. So I'm looking for any continuation back to the downside, which I do see happening because obviously the higher time frames are looking like a sell, but at the moment, nothing yet. Here are my profits for the day so far. That's a trade that I took earlier. Let's see if I could just get to this and this, and which counts different. Count different is going to be the second one. All right, so we're pretty much just waiting for this to come back down. This candle here hasn't closed yet. There's a wick rejection on both sides, so I don't think this is going to be a confirmation. Yeah, definitely not. Or I mean, I don't know. It's kind of, it was a really last minute, the body here was really close to it, so I'd probably hold off on a bit. I'm looking for a clean rejection, because if you get a clean rejection off the top, then I'm expecting the correction to come down even harder. So here on the 10-minute, you can see that there's a wick rejection on both sides, right? So there's no direction here yet. It's pretty messy. Same with here on the 5, this here just kind of wicked at the last second. It was down here and then it kind of just wicked. So I'd probably just hold off on entering anything right now, guys. I mean, it's right at opening price, so it's not even a good time to make entry at the moment. It's an area of manipulation. I think price will come back down though. So what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for some sort of confirmation for price to correct back down, because the higher time frames over here are obviously looking like a sell. So I'm just looking for everything to follow it. So we're looking for a wick rejection over here, wick rejection. And then there's not necessarily there's no strategy based off it. It's really just following, it's really just following what the market's showing you. If the market's hinting that price is going to come down, well, I mean, it's technically hinting right here, but it hasn't closed yet. This candle has 18 minutes left on it. So it's got a long time until this, wick rejection kind of shows. Once it happens right there, and then it happens over here, and then it also happens on the shorter time frames, odds of it correcting back down for a bigger push is very likely. But I mean, there's no specific strategy to it. It's just using basic logic, right? You see price bouncing off the top on multiple time frames, and then the overall trend is to sell. Odds of it dropping further are very likely, but right now that's just not the case. Let's see. Yeah, so here are my profits so far. Took another trade right there, so not too bad for the day. I'll put my individual profits here as well. There's just nothing for us to take right now, guys. Once I see something, we'll take it, but there's no overall trend right now. I mean, long-term higher time frames, it's obviously still a sell, but overall trend right now on the shorter time frames, there's no direction. Price is literally right down the middle, right here on the 10, right down the middle on the 5, right down the middle here on the 1. So at the moment, you just got to wait. Nothing for us to take right now. I will take a screenshot of my profits real quick so far. Yeah, there's just nothing for us to take right now. All right, just screenshotting. Profits real quick. All right, so let me post these up in the group. There's still nothing for us to take, so we're not really missing out on anything. So don't worry, guys. There's nothing that you guys are missing out on. All right, so here are my profits so far. No official trades yet, but these are the trades that I took pre-market and the trade that I took just a while ago. Total profit on my FTMO 400K account funded, total profit of 2,700. You guys can see the green strips. I just let them run to TP. Here's my MFF, total profit of 2,400. My MFF number 2,410. And then my third MFF, 2,400. So profit so far could be better, but it is what it is. I'm just, taking it as the market gives us. There's no direction right now. I wish there was a direction because I could just keep taking trades in that direction, but there's just nothing to take right now. Yeah, even the 5 over here, there's no real direction as to like where price is going right now. This here was indecisive, of course. We'll see if price swings back below open. I'm gonna just go over here to the clean chart as well. I'm gonna mark up. Feels like this week is just a super choppy week, fortunately. All right, here's opening price right there. So here's the clean chart. As you guys can see, there's no direction. Price pretty much open, went back and forth, and there's just no clear direction as to where price is going to go or where it's going to continue. It just keeps going back and forth. So you can see over here on the 1, price is going sideways. You can see here on the 5, price is going sideways as well, right down the pivots. And then lastly here on the 10-minute, it's no direction. Let's see, question from King George Awanza. He's asking, what steps did you and others in here take to start trading and be profitable? I think for the most part, majority of people here started to follow a mentor who would be myself. I started trading just from trial and error. I mean, I learned everything on my own. I never had a mentor. I kind of just did everything on my own. Some people can do that because some people have the ability to use, logic to figure out what works and what doesn't. Not everybody can do that though. I have a background in law, so, I'm an attorney, so I know how to kind of use logic and analytics to figure out what works and what doesn't, and then putting together a rule-based strategy. I think the main thing is really just having a trading plan and a rule-based strategy. I apply trading to how I do as practicing law. So when I trade, I have logic behind everything that I do. When I see price coming to a certain direction, I use the trend and I use, wick rejections off these price points or structures. So whenever I trade, I always have logic behind it. I don't just take random trades. I'm actually looking for something, to play out. I think everybody's different though. So not everybody learns the same way. I think the easiest way to really get better is to have a mentor who actually knows what they're doing. If they can trade live, like how I'm doing, I think that's probably the best indicator to show that a person knows how to trade is if they show you what they're doing and you're able to understand it and actually make decisions with trading off that. If someone's just giving you signals, I don't think that's going to be helpful for anybody, because signals doesn't teach you anything. It just tells you when to enter a trade, right? And the person that's giving the signal probably doesn't even know what they're doing either. They're probably getting that signal from another group and then just repackaging it and reselling it to the person. That's typically what's been happening. If you guys have seen a lot of these signal groups, guys, a lot of these people who run these signal groups, they don't even call it signals anymore. They're just in other groups and they just copy them and resell them, which is crazy. But people fall for it. So that's just how it is. Scrolling up real quick. Let me see if there's anything else here. Question from let's see. So Rashida said that there was a failure that hit at 644. I don't think there was a failure anywhere here, guys, because there was no bias. So like there was no overall trend. So I think you're referring to this one right here, right, Rashida? At 642, because your message was at 644. So looking over here at 642, there was like there's no overall direction of trend because price was going sideways right here. It's the same with it over here. So this time happened at 644. Yeah, same with this over here on the 5 because price is like right down the middle. So this entry came up right here, or entry that you identified, but it came up like right here in the middle on the 5 and then also right here in the middle of the 10. So I wouldn't consider that a momentum scalp failure. I mean, the criteria meets up, but the first requirement to confirm the overall trend wasn't there. So I personally wouldn't have considered that a momentum scalp failure. Like first requirement to confirm overall trend. I mean, yeah, you guys can get like, it's easy to get lucky taking these types of trades and not really having a trend because price is bouncing both directions. But if you were to take in prices going opposite, odds of it hitting stop loss would be very likely. So for me personally, I don't think that would be considered a, yeah, no, it's all good, Rashida. It happens, sometimes it happens super quickly. That's how I make mistakes myself. Like sometimes I'll take a trade because I think there's a direction, but realistically there's no direction. So, gotcha. Yeah, let me scroll up over here real quick and see what else that I'm missing. Question from Alan. Alan's asking, hey, Sean, on FTMO, free 2-week trial, does that count for anything? No, it doesn't. It's just a trial. It's just for you to test out the features and understand how it works. It's not even a full 30 days. It only goes on for like 14 days. So it's not necessarily a mirror of like the actual challenge. The actual challenge is a bit long. It's the same thing, but you just get less time. You get 14 days instead of the full 30, but you don't get anything for passing that. It's just a practice. All right, guys, so there's still no direction here. I'm still waiting for price to go in one direction or the other. Price just keeps coming back to opening price right here. So here's a clean chart. As you guys can see, this blue line right here is opening price. Price just goes up, comes back down, goes back up, comes back down. And then now it's again going here sideways, right? There's no direction here. So once we have a direction, we need price to like be above here or price to be below here. It's a key thing. Until we get that, there's not really much for us to take here. Price is just going sideways. So we're just going to have to wait until something comes up. There's no official entries yet. I mean, obviously, I was hoping to have some sort of official entries, but right now there's no direction. Let's take a look at the higher time frames. The higher time frames over here. This candle has about 8 minutes left on it. So I think this is the main thing for us to look out for in the next 8 minutes. If this here closes with like maybe a decent red candle, it doesn't have to be a strong red candle, but I think it needs to close somewhere below the pivots. If this candle here closes somewhere below the pivots with the red candle, then odds of it continuing to drop are very likely. We also need that to happen right here on the 10. So it's a couple of things here to look out for. 8 minutes left on this 30 minutes. I'll come back to this in a few, but right now there's still no direction here as price continues to, obviously bounce around. Let's see. Nick mentioned potential momentum scalp coming to the downside. If we get a momentum scalp here, it wouldn't be an entry because for one, it's right at opening price. So if you got a sell signal anywhere around here, it'd be touching the opening price. Plus there's no direction of overall trend, Nick. So, I mean, like you mentioned earlier, right? You mentioned because of the trend meter, trend meter here is definitely not red and price is not below the pivot. So I wouldn't take any momentum scalps at the moment. There's just nothing for us to take right now. I wouldn't take any entries in general because there's just no confirmation as to, if anything, I think price will push up slightly before it comes back down. But I mean, who knows? We'll see. So We'll see where price ends up going, but there's just no, even this right here on the 1 minute, you can see there's wick rejections on both sides. There's really there's no direction right now, like at all. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend anybody take any trades at the moment. Just hold on and wait for some sort of direction. Question from Pam Cham's asking, what causes the large wicks and candles? The larger wicks are caused by uncertainty in the market. So like whenever you see wicks like this means that price doesn't know where it's going. When you see a big wick on top, that means that price is pushing down. When you see a big wick on the bottom, that means that price is pushing up. So people are trying to sell here, so it's pushed down. And then people are trying to buy here, so their price is getting pushed up. So there's no direction. There's no there's no one direction where price is going. Price will push down a little bit, then it'll push back up, then it'll push back down, then it'll push back up. Typically, you want to see something where price pushes up, comes down a little bit, and continues. And then when you see something like this, you'll usually see wicks on the bottom because price just keeps getting pushed higher and higher. So that's pretty much what causes, those wicks to happen right there, because there's no certainty. Like first you'll have like a handful of people pushing price up, right? You see a lot of people here buying, so price is pushing up. And then if you see on the next candle, you see wicks on the top side, that's because people are starting to sell off, right? Today's FOMC minutes. So the Fed minutes are coming out at 11. I think a lot of people are just sitting out of the market until that comes out because there hasn't really been much of a movement today. Price just keeps going back and forth. Yeah, there's really no movement right now. Which is kind of surprising because this is like the first 30 minutes of market open. I'd expect price to at least move to some extent, but it is what it is. It's got to deal with it for now. Yeah, Barack said he expected it to dump to 33,100, but I guess that's the market. No really known way to be sure. Yeah, there's just no direction right now. I mean, if there was a direction, it'd be great, but yeah, at the moment, I think price may be coming down a little bit. We'll see where this ends up going. So I'm kind of just looking at where price is pushing. I'm looking at the wicks because, if the wicks are bouncing off the top, odds of it coming down are very likely. I think overall price will still come down. The 30-minute candle here still has about 4 minutes left on it. So this is something for us to look at. I think this would be the initial factor. If this here closes with a red candle, so like say, for example, we get the wick rejection there, the red candle closes below the pivots, that's going to be an indication that price is likely to continue dropping lower. There's a problem here though, because the 1 hour over here has a wick rejection on the bottom, right? So you're getting there's an issue here because these are both pointing different directions. Or if you get a bottom rejection here on the 1 minute, on the 1 hour, so this is going to close in the next 3 minutes. If you get a bottom rejection here and a bottom rejection here, then odds of it pushing up higher are more likely than it pushing down, at least for the time being. Because you get a bottom wick rejection across all these time frames right here. So that might be the case. If price stays above in the next 3 minutes, price may be pushing up a little bit higher. The only problem here that I'm looking at now is that there's a wick rejection on both sides for the 30. So I wouldn't necessarily go straight for buys just yet. Yeah, it's not it's just not good where price is currently at right now. Yeah, I mean, just looking at where price is currently at, there's no direction. Price keeps going back and forth. I mean, it's really just in between the pivots. I mean, realistically, price is going sideways. Here's a clean chart right here. If you're just to measure the bodies of the candle and not the wicks, or not even the full wicks down there, I mean, realistically, price is just going sideways. You guys can see this here, right? Price just goes sideways right here. There's like these little outliers, but price just keeps getting pulled back to this opening price right there. That's pretty much the where price just keeps getting magnetized to. It's magnetized to this opening price. So we'll see price push up slightly, then it'll just come back down, and then et cetera, it comes back up, and it just keeps going back and forth. I mean, it looks like price may be pushing up slightly. So let's see how these here close. We have about a minute left on this 1 hour, about 2 minutes left on this 30, but I think price will push up at least a little bit, not like maybe not a crazy amount, but I think price may be pushing up because we're getting these wick rejections over here on the 10 and 5. These are just hints as to where price is likely to go. So you got these two right here pushing price up. We have the 1 hour as well. You get a rejection off the bottom right here. It's got about like 30 minutes left on it. I mean, sorry, 3 minutes left on it. So if we get that there, it might be initiation for price to push back up. I mean, who knows if it'll hold, right? There's really no confirmation as to like where price is going yet because shorter time frames here, no direction. Aside from maybe a slight push to the upside, like price may push up and then retest these higher highs, but I mean, I wouldn't bank on it just yet. Yeah, Maria said price is in a range. She sent a markup right here. Yeah, I agree with you right here, Maria. So Maria over here sent her markup here that she said price is in a range. I agree. It's exactly where it's going. There's no, I mean, there's really no direction here. All right, so let's see where this is at. The 1 hour over here didn't necessarily close above. So if this here closes above, I think it'll push up at least a little bit. I don't know if it'll be a full, I doubt it'll be a full on reversal, but I think it'll push up at least a little bit. You know, maybe until the FOMC later today. So kind of just waiting to see where this candle here closes. Because this will show, you know, the direction and the strength of price. It wasn't necessarily like a clean rejection though. So you can see it rejected off it, but at the last second, it kind of just pushed down and then pushed back up. So again, right now, guys, I have no opinion on direction right now. Overall, these higher time frames are obviously looking like a sell, but there's just no direction. All right, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see where price ends up going, guys. If there's any questions that you guys have, I mean, we have a lot of downtime right now, so just feel free to put your questions in the chat. I'll answer whatever you guys need help with. But at the moment, there's like really no direction in price or in general. Looking at where price is likely to go. Let's see. Kevin said, not that trend lines matter, but I drew a trend line on the 1 minute, and so far it's respecting the trend line for a push up, but I don't trust it. Yeah, and I could see that too. I mean, your trend line probably aligns with my pivots over here. Kevin, you know, with price kind of going back and forth. I mean, price is coming back down right here, but again, there's still no direction set. I mean, price can easily just shift right back up. So I'm not looking to take anything yet. I'm just kind of waiting for a confirmation here, but there's, I mean, obviously I'm looking for long-term, I'm looking for a sell here, but I think short-term price may push up. I mean, there was no clean rejection off the 1 hour. So I think there's going to be a lot of fake outs here. Here, let's just measure real quick. So market open right here at this blue line. Price is below it, only like less than 10 pips. So that's how much movement we've pretty much had this morning. Not really much at all. Here we go with price again below the opening price. But it just keeps going back and forth. So I still consider everything at a range right now. I don't necessarily recommend anyone chase any sells at the moment, at least not yet. I mean, this might come down at least 100 pips, but I don't think it'll necessarily hold. Ben Harwick posted this the image in the chat, no trades. Yeah, Nick said the market's dead. Maddie said it could be a fake out down. It's going to chill off the first breakout. Price looks like it's finally starting to squeeze. Yeah, I mean, there's just no direction here, guys. If you guys have any questions or if there's anything that you guys are confused with, you know, feel free to put your questions in the chat, but there's just no direction set right now. I mean, it looks like a sell, but I wouldn't necessarily chase a sell because this can easily just shift back up from where it's currently at. Highs is asking, how can 3 charts in TradingView? If you want to have 3 charts on TradingView, you click on this button right here where it says select layout, and then you can choose up here. They have 1 chart, 2 charts, 3 charts, 4 charts, etc., all the way up to 8 charts if you really wanted to. But that's how you'd set it up right there. I go to 3 and I like them side by side, so I check this second box right here. All right, here we go. As price pushes right back up. So this is why I was telling you guys not to chase the sell, because there is literally no direction. Price just keeps going back and forth. One thing that you guys can probably count on is that price will likely push back to opening price. That's probably one thing to look at, right? But I mean, overall, there's no direction. Let me check the CNBC real quick. So looking over here at CNBC, everything is actually bullish right now. So the Dow's currently up 35 points, S&P's up 2 points, Nasdaq's up 11 points, Russell 2K is up 14 points, and the VIX is up less than 1%. So let's see what this news event says right here. Fed James Bullard pushes for faster rate hikes, sees good shot at beating inflation. So we got the Fed meeting minutes later today at 11. I think this is what a lot of people are waiting for. So I don't think there's going to be much of a direction until the Fed minutes come out. Yeah, I mean, personally, I just don't see too much going on, or at least no direction until then, because there's like mixed reviews here. Like, you know, if the interest rates go up, it's not going to be good for the economy. I mean, it's going to be good for inflation, but not for the economy necessarily. So, I mean, we'll have to see how this ends up playing out, but there's just nothing here happening. No other news for today. I think that's the main thing too. There's just no news today as well. If there was news today, we'd probably get price pushing one direction or the other, but we don't have news till 11. Let me check my FX book, make sure I'm not missing anything over here. All right, so here's my FX book. There's news at 8:30, but it's not, I mean, it's not relevant to us right now because we're going to be done trading around that time. So here we go, as price pushed up, rejected off the opening price, and then now it's back down. But it's just going to keep, I think it's going to keep pulling back up to opening price, my personal opinion. But there's just, I mean, realistically, there's no direction here. 10 minutes still right between the pivots, 5 minutes right between the pivots. The 1 minute here just keeps going back and forth. Not really a good sign right now as to like where we want to be trading. Yeah, Dejan said the double wick and double body is crazy and it doesn't close. Yeah, it just keeps going back and forth. It's just a back and forth movement. So I personally would sit out of the market because the last thing you want to do is be in a trade and then it spikes when you least expect it because price is squeezing. I mean, this is like the messiest chart I've seen in a while, especially on the 1 minute here. Like you can't even see anything happening on the chart. Right here, if you look on the 1 minute, there's so many wicks on both sides. Yeah, like right here, if you're just to maximize like the time between market open and now, there's so many wicks on both sides. It seems like the market was actually moving smoother pre-market. So like before the market opened here, price was actually moving pretty smooth, not too many wicks. And then market opened over here at 6:30 and there's huge wicks on both sides. So price just keeps fighting for control, but there's really no control here. Yeah, if you just like if you were to compare these two, like you compare pre-market, like London session was actually really smooth right here. Smooth push up, smooth push down, some consolidation, but then right here is just a lot of choppiness from open. So just gotta sit tight and wait, guys. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a good time to really take any unnecessary risk at the moment. Let me scroll up real quick. Yeah, Kip said, FYI, none of the admins are taking trades. That says something. Yeah, it's just, being disciplined, especially during a time like this. Because I know, like, you guys see the movement, so you guys are like tempted to hop into a trade and catch like quick moves here and there. But for me personally, I think it's super risky to do that, unless you have some sort of bias or you have some sort of strategy you're applying. A couple of profits over here from, let's see, Maddie. So Maddie locked in a total profit of 1,620. This is a little earlier today. Solid work, Maddie. That was on open. And then we have Deswell over here, total profit of 2,348 for the day. Nice work, Deswell. Those are from earlier today. He took some sells, pretty much the sells I took too. We have Zach over here. So Zach said lower volatility was lower, had one trade scared, so he pulled out early for profit. And these are his trades so far. So Zach over here is currently up about 2,500 for the day. Nice work, Zach. So solid work right there. Yeah, he took the sells off my analysis. So earlier when I took the sell, Zach took the same one. We pretty much took the same trade, and then he locked in his profit there. So for the day so far, he is currently up. Yeah, for the week so far, actually. For the week so far, Zach's was up 23,000 on Monday, 10,000 yesterday, and then up 8,000 today. So great work right there, Zach. Now you just got to stay consistent with it. I mean, you're doing pretty good for the couple of days so far. You just got to keep rinsing and repeating the process. Alan over here is currently at 94.01. Nice work, Alan. So solid profits right there as well. Let's see if there's anything else over here. Here's Dejan. So Dejan took the sell with us earlier today too. Total profit of 1,430 for the day. Nice work, Dejan. Yeah, not bad. All right, so price is starting to drop a little bit here, guys, but again, I wouldn't recommend chasing it. I know a lot of you guys are probably getting tempted, but probably would hold off on chasing any of these sells here. Vincent over here is currently up 68.77 for the day. Nice work, Vincent. Looks like Vincent over here took the momentum. Oh, yeah, looks like he took like a late momentum scalp right there. So solid profits right there. Vincent, he let it play out a little bit and then he hopped in a little later. Wrote it a little higher. Brock over here currently up 1,090 for the day. Nice work, Brock. So solid work right there. And I think that's it for right now. Yeah, Zach said he's done for the day. So Zach took another trade there for a buy. Total profit of well over 8,000 for the day because he showed his total profits there. So Zach's pretty solid for the day so far. He's taking trades off the analysis. There's no clear direction. I mean, price is finally dropping below. This is kind of what we were anticipating. So I mentioned from earlier this morning, guys, I was saying that price is likely to drop, but we got to wait for like some sort of confirmation here. Confirmation came. Price is now dropping, but I wouldn't necessarily chase it just yet. Price is right at the sessions. Right there. And we're back to the waiting game. I mean, there's nothing for us to take right now. It's got to sit tight and wait. Question from Allison. Allison's asking, is London generally decent? I wouldn't know. I don't trade London, so I can't necessarily tell you. I mean, the market, London is the second fastest session, so it's always going to be moving, but I can't say whether it's decent or not. I mean, just because it's moving doesn't mean that it's good, right? There could be volatility, like for example, today, market's moving super quickly, but it's not necessarily a good market, or I would not call it decent at all. So there's volatility during London, but I don't trade it, so I can't say whether it's decent or not. I mean, you can trade it if you want. If you really want to try it, you can try it. But the time difference for me just doesn't make sense. Because if I'm trading London and then I got to get up at 5 a.m. to trade with you guys here, I'm going to be super tired by the time it gets to New York session. So for me personally, I wouldn't know because I don't trade it, but I know other people do trade it. And some people do good and some people do bad. So it's a mixed bag. I mean, it just depends on the person. Yeah, Eunice said not always smooth. Yeah, I agree, Eunice. So Eunice is actually one of the people who trades London. So, if you want to reach out to him and ask him about it, you can. But as he mentioned right there, he said it's not always smooth. So that's probably one of the main people that I would say who's actually profitable during London. There's a couple people in the group that are not profitable during London. I'm not going to say their names, but I've been telling them not to trade during London, but they still do. Like whenever someone like isn't good at trading or they don't find consistency, I typically ask them, okay, like what are you doing that's causing you to lose, right? Or what are you trading? And it's always like something specific, like they're trading Asia session or they're trading London session. And I tell them, okay, if you don't want to lose, they don't trade during London or Asia. And what do? They trade London or Asia and they blow their account. So it's like if you guys don't find consistency, I recommend documenting your trades. So document your trades. Whenever you're losing trades, figure out where you're losing, right? Are you losing after 8 a.m. after the live session? If that's the case, then stop trading after 8. If you lose in Asia session, then don't trade Asia. If you lose during London session, don't trade. It's really that simple, but something that simple is almost impossible for some people to get because they're just so stubborn, right? Like I could give you guys all the advice in the world, but probably like maybe 20% of you actually follow my advice. I always tell people to only trade during a certain time or to only take the trades during live sessions, but maybe like less than half of you guys actually do that. So, I'll try to help you guys as much as possible, but sometimes the person needs the help, not like someone can't help everybody if they don't want to take the advice. Here, let's see. Let me just scroll up real quick and see what else we're missing. Yeah, DeJohn said he's good for the day, just scoping. Really? Maddie said nothing is high probability right now. Could fake out, then drop and stop. So he's going to take a break. Alan mentioned, I think I would be better off trading a cup of coffee for a jelly donut. Yeah, no, that'd be a good thing to do right now, especially because there's no direction. I mean, obviously we're looking for sells here, guys, but there's no opportunity for entry. So our bias now is back to a sell. It's been a sell since this morning. It went to pretty much indecisive and now it's back to a sell. Reason for it being a sell is because obviously everything here is a sell bias. On the 1 hour, 30-minute, and 10-minute timeframes, prices below the pivots, trend meters red, pivots are angling down. Same with the shorter timeframes over here. Prices below the pivots, trend meters red, and the pivots are angling down. So with that said, we're looking for a sell here. First entry on the 1 minute would be a momentum scalp failure. So I'll put the requirements up here for the strategies. We're basically looking for a buy signal to come up over here for us to have some sort of possible entry, but I don't know if we'll have that because we had such a big drop right here. Price might have to retrace a little bit before it actually continues back down. So basically the main thing I'm looking for here, guys, is I'm looking for I'm gonna turn on my alerts. All right, so I'm looking for price to pretty much swing back to the upside for retracement, and then from there I'll be looking for continuation back down. So pattern that I'm looking for here, guys, is I'm looking for a buy signal to come up. So price is already down below. Looking for price to swing back up and then continuation back down. So I'm looking for a buy signal to come up over here. And then once we get that, we're expecting price to come back down. However, the thing that you got to keep in mind here, guys, is that there's a lot of red flags. There's the Asia low right there, and there is the New York low right there. So not exactly the best area to be trading right now. With these, obviously red flags. Yeah, I mean, price is super overextended too. It's just not really a good area to be trading. Price is super overextended on the 5 minute. You can see how far price is from the pivots. Price is way down here. It's got like 700 pips to go until it reaches back up to the pivots. So, I mean, if anything, we might get a correction back up and then it'll come back down eventually. But for the moment, it's not really worth the risk. Patrick said he loves London. Maddie said less losses equals more wins. Melvin said messes with London. Yeah, exactly. Patrick said it's his first shift and New York is his second shift. Yeah, if you guys live in an area where you can do that, then that's great. For me personally, I'm in California on the west coast of the US. So like my time zone over here doesn't work like that. Like if I was to trade London, I'd have to be up like super late. Well, I have to have like opposite schedules. It's basically like working the graveyard shift from midnight up until, I don't know, like 8 a.m. Like my schedule would be so screwed up if I was to trade London session. So I personally can't trade it. It's just too off for me. Kenny said, I'm a small town hick trying to learn how to trade with the big eyed like Sean, LOL. Yeah, no, you've been around for a while, Kenny, which is solid. I mean, it's good that you've been around and you've been, learning and getting better each day. I think that's a key thing. Also, getting out of your comfort zone, because I'm sure a lot of people around you don't trade. So it definitely like opens up a lot of opportunity if you continue to trade and, get better at it. Oscar is asking, Sean, do you know which of your 5 mentors don't have mentees yet? I don't think anyone has a mentee yet. I mean, if you guys want to reach out to them and see, I know Maddie has an idea of like who he wants to mentor. He has a couple people in mind, but nobody's really established yet. So I think at the start of next month, we'll probably start dialing in on that. I'm still holding the mentorship right now for the February people. So once February is over, I think we'll start moving towards, I'm still going to mentor people, of course. The same mentoring sessions are going to go on, but for the other groups, I think we'll start drilling down on figuring out who wants to focus on who in March. So if you guys want to reach out to them, you guys are more than welcome, but I don't think anyone has a set mentee yet. I think everyone's still trying to figure out who's a good fit, because a lot of people have been messaging people in the group, but no one's really proved that they're like actually consistent, right? The key thing that we're looking out for here, guys, like you can't just apply and expect to be chosen. Like the thing with a lot of people here is that they think they can just message the mentors and expect to be chosen. If you haven't been posting profits and you haven't been consistent, and another thing is if you've been posting random trades, like if you've just been posting random profits and you have no like analysis behind it, then you're probably gonna be out of the picture. So like I wouldn't just post profits and post analysis for no reason. If you're sounding like nonsense in the group and you're posting stuff, then you're not gonna be a good fit. Because the thing is, we're trying to mold you into a trader. If you already think you know everything, then you're not gonna be a good fit for our mentors, because like what's the point of us mentoring you if you technically know everything, right? So for the most part, there's no application process. I mean, you guys can reach out to them, and if they like you, then maybe they'll choose you. But for the most part, we're pretty much, we've been on the chats. Like if you guys haven't noticed, but you've seen other people here more active in the chats. The main people who are mentoring are Kip, CT, Sisuk, Maddie, and myself. We've been looking at the chat. So like, we see how people interact. We see people's analysis. We see people's profits. We see people's consistency. It's one thing to say that you're consistent and that you know what you're doing, and it's another thing to show that you have actually been consistent. So if you guys want to like be picked up, I think you probably have a better chance like actually interacting in the group versus like messaging someone. Because if you just message someone and say, hey, I'm a good fit for you, it's not going to prove anything to the mentors, right? They need to actually see it. So like a couple of things here, right? You just need to understand what we're doing here on the live session. And the main thing is just understanding these strategies. So the main way to get really chosen for mentoring and to trade, for our prop firm that we start, it would be really just understanding these strategies. Like I've been mentioning to everybody, like literally every day, this is the only strategy that you have to really know, right? There's only been like 3 or 4 people who actually have been following that. If you guys would just focus on this strategy here and you could show that you actually understand it, odds of you getting chosen are very likely. But the thing is, so many people here are like, like just making up strategies like, oh, I see this rejecting off this, so I think price is going to come down. That's not what we're looking for, because you can't follow directions, right? We need someone who can follow directions, because you guys aren't going to trade my capital unless you can follow my directions. So guys, instead of trying to like sound smart, like you know what you're doing, I would recommend just focusing on the strategies, because that's going to be like the main thing that we're looking for. Like you don't even know, you need to know how to trade. You need to understand how to follow directions. I think that's the main thing. If you guys can do that, then great. If not, then, you know, maybe the next wave, you can be part of that. But at the moment, we're only looking for people who can follow directions. Like you really don't have to know how to trade. You really have to know how to follow directions. And that's the main thing. All right, guys, so price is coming back up here. Now we have price pretty much stabilized like where it's supposed to be. This is pretty much what I was talking about earlier, guys. I said we might get a momentum scalp failure here, but it's not going to be in a good area because of the red flags. Price is now back up to where it's supposed to be, near the pivots. The thing to look out for here now is to look for a rejection off the pivots possibly. And then if we get a rejection off that, that might be a correction back to the downside. All right, so let me scroll up real quick and see what else I'm missing over here. All right, yeah, Maddie said he's open to taking new people. So Maddie has a couple people on his list that he's like, he wants to work with, but he said he's still open. So if you want to reach out to Maddie, I mean, reaching out to them is not really going to help, honestly. I think it's going to annoy people more than not. So I'd probably just recommend interacting in the chat. So if you guys ever have an analysis, so here's some profits from Kip. Kip's currently up 2,970. Nice work, Kip. And David over here, he's currently up about 500 for the week. So solid work right there, David. I think the best way for you guys to really get noticed in the group, to be chosen for the mentorship, is to just post your analysis in the group. So like if you see a trade coming up, you can explain like, okay, this is a variation because this played out or this played out. And that's going to get you more notice, because it's going to show the mentors that like you actually know how to follow directions and you know how to follow rules. If you're just posting up random trades and then you're saying that this happened or this happened, it's probably gonna make you look worse than it does good. So just keep it in mind, guys. Anyways, back to the charts. There's nothing for us to take here, but we're looking for these wick rejections off the pivots here. Looks like price might be shifting back up. Here's a clean chart. You can see another fake out here and price is right back to the top. So there's no direction here, guys. As you guys can see, price was pushing around here. It dumped, faked out below here, came right back up. It's literally back at where it started. So price is right back to where it started. There's no confirmation of anything here yet. Man, this week sucks. I was hoping this week would be good, but it's just been going sideways. It's been this whole month, actually, like pretty much the whole month of February. There hasn't been any consistency. Price just keeps going back and forth. There's no general direction. So it's really hard to take these trades here because we're trading based off like overall trend. As you guys can see over here, price is right back in between the pivots. So there's no direction here on the 5-minute and there's no direction here on the 10-minute. It's right down the middle. So we need price to either push above it or push below it. One or the other, right? Again, right here on the 10, push above it or push below it. Yeah, so Eunice said, I thought we cannot apply for mentor and that we would be chosen. Yeah, you're right, Eunice, you can't be chosen. You can't apply. There's no application process. You guys can reach out to the mentors and you can ask them if like, or you just get in touch with them, because the thing is the mentor is not going to choose you if like they don't know who you are. So you can reach out to them and see if like, you know, they want to work with you. But for the most part, there's no application process for the mentorship. The thing is, we're being really selective because you guys are going to be trading my money. So I'm not going to just let anybody just become, you know, part of the group. You have to actually like be trustworthy and consistent with your trading. Let's see. Yeah, Kip mentioned over here as well. He said, first question we'll ask you is how much of the training have you completed on the website? Yeah, so that's one thing too, guys. Like whenever you guys message the mentors, we have access to your course. So we can look and see if you guys have actually watched the videos. If you guys haven't watched the videos, then it's not a good look, right? Because how are you going to know the strategies if you haven't watched the videos? So there's no way around it really. Question from Vince. Vince is asking for the momentum scalp failure. Can you take the trade multiple candles after, or does it have to be right after? It's got to be right after, Vince. So for example, over here, I'm just going to show you an example of the momentum scalp failure, which would be something like this right here. So I know this isn't an actual entry right now, but so this one right here, Vince, you can see we have a sell signal. Trend is upwards. Volume here is below average. You got to take it right then and there. So you can't take it later. You got to take it right then and there when it comes up. You have that set up there. You let the trade run. Obviously, it's profit target. And then same for the opposite direction too. So there was a buy right there, and there's another one right here for a sell. Right. So if you see a momentum scalp failure here, price is in a downtrend. You see a buy signal right here. It's going against the trend. Volume's below average. You have this setup right here. You got to take it right away. There's only one entry for it. So if you miss it, you miss it. You just got to wait for the next one. So right there, it plays out right after. Yeah. So this one right here wouldn't be considered a momentum scalp failure because it was so close to the sessions. It's not a good area to trade. And then also there just wasn't an overall direction here. This over here might be a momentum. Let me check the overall trend. So this candle here is kind of big. No, actually, so this would have been a momentum scalp and a momentum scalp variation, but unfortunately, it's right at the sessions. So red flag right there. I was hoping to take it if it closed above here. If it closed a little higher, we could have taken it. But I mean, obviously, you guys can see the criteria here. Doesn't meet because of the red flags. So here are the red flags: when to avoid trades when price is near sessions, which it was like literally at the sessions right there. So obviously that's an area to avoid. Sucks because it looks like a good trade too. It's probably gonna hit TP. Yeah, it would have been good, but just didn't meet the criteria. There you go. So yeah, this is one of the trades we were waiting for. So as I mentioned, I typically don't take the momentum scalp failure. I look for the next one. So we would have skipped over this. Next one would have came up right here. Overall trend was a sell. Momentum aligns on the 5 and 10. We know that because this is a gold bar right here. There's a retracement right here. Price retraced up, closed back below the pivots. This right here would have been the momentum scalp variation. This also doubled up as a momentum scalp entry because we had a sell signal right here and everything lined up. So this right here would have been an entry for both momentum scalp variation and momentum scalp. Unfortunately, I didn't take it because it was right at the sessions. I stick true to my trading plan. That's something that a lot of people need to stick to as well. If you guys have a trading plan, my red flags here are when to avoid trades near the sessions. If this ever happens, I'm avoiding it 100%. So fortunately, that was the case, but it did hit TP if you guys took it. Yeah, so another one over here from Vincent. Vincent's now up 139.67 for the day. Great work, Vincent. We got Patricia over here, total profit of 1,085. Nice work, Patricia. And then Patricia's second account over here, currently up 1,160. Nice work, Patricia. Yeah, so solid work so far, guys. I mean, you guys did pretty solid overall for the most part. Barack over here, he's currently up 2,030. Nice work, Barack. Yeah, Barack said still working on the many trades I take and remain with the same profits, really draining. They're probably still here from Sally. And there goes the yawn indicator. Sammy over here, total profit of 1,050 for the day. Nice work, Sammy. She actually took the trade right there. So she took, or he, sorry, Sam, I still don't know if you're a boy or a girl, but Sammy over here took the trade here. You can see the timestamp from the trade, 7:31 and 7:30. Sammy took both of the trades there. It's momentum scalp variation and momentum scalp, total profit of 1,050 for the day. So nice work, Sammy. Here goes Kip. Total profit of 2,970. Nice work, Kip. Kip again right here, 3,975. And I think that's it for right now. So I still haven't taken anything after the live, guys. I mean, after the open price, still waiting for something here, but there's just no, I mean, right now it's in not a good area because of the sessions, but it looks like we're starting to have some sort of direction here. I mean, we were looking for sells pretty much all morning, but now it's pretty much confirmed across the other time frames that we're obviously looking for a sell here. Let me scroll down real quick. Yeah, Kip mentioned, Sean's right. Posting your markups and posting thoughtful questions or answering others' questions grabs our attention. Yeah, exactly. If you guys are like more involved in the chat, guys, like, you know, you don't have to be doing much. Like if someone asks a question in the chat and you're able to answer it with like a proper answer, that shows us that you actually understand what you're doing. So that'll actually be more beneficial with you being chosen. Because I know a couple people in the group have people in mind already with like, you know, who they want to mentor, but no one's been chosen yet. Yeah, let's see. Shannon said, I understand you even if not be picked to be, but to be consistent. I tried a few days, just not rewatching the days live. It's not working for me. Can't explain my trade. I have to change by watching the lives each day. Thanks for your realness. Yeah, no, definitely, Shannon. Like what Shannon mentioned is like, you know, if you guys aren't getting it, if you guys rewatch the live sessions, that's probably the easiest way to understand what we're doing here, because I'm just repeating the process every day. So if you guys are a little confused with like the process or the live sessions or like how to enter these trades, the best way for you guys to really pick up stuff is to rewatch the live sessions, because we're looking for the same thing. Pretty much every day this year, I've only been looking at these 3 strategies here. You know, some days have been better than others. Some months have been better than others. If you look at this month so far, February has been a pretty shitty month, like overall, because there just hasn't been much direction. January is actually really good. So if you look back at our profits for the month so far, or for the year, so our profits for this year so far, for January, we actually kicked off the year pretty solid. It was 17 wins, 2 losses, a total gain of 10%. This month has kind of been back and forth. We haven't really taken too many trades. We actually took a couple more losses. A lot of them were my mistake. They were avoidable, but I took a couple of mistakes there, and we actually had a slower month. So last month was like about a 10% gain. I think February we have about a week left. So hopefully this pushes up a bit higher, but you know, not every month is going to be the same. Let's see, some more profits over here from Ross. So nice work, Ross. Ross over here posted his profits. He is currently up 13,680 on this account. Nice work, Ross. That's his first one. And then Ross, the second account over here, he's at 14,000, or this is just more profits. He took another trade there. Total profit of 14,470. Solid work, Ross. It looks like you hit your TPs on there too, so they played out perfect. No entries for us here, guys. I'm still looking for, so we're basically looking for a buy signal here. We're looking for a buy signal here on the 1 minute. If we get a buy signal, that's going to be a setup for a momentum scalp failure. However, the problem with this here is that it's right at the session. So even if we get a buy signal here, it's going to be touching the sessions most likely. So we got a pending buy signal right here. About a minute left on the candle. We'll see how it plays out. But for the most part, we'll have to wait and see. Patrick said, month of love, my ass. This market has done its best to hate us. I know, right? I think this has probably been like one of the most frustrating months we've had in a while. We really like the market. Typically it moves like this back and forth for like maybe 1 week out of the month, but it's been like this pretty much every week. So this is how like, I feel like this is how like great traders are made. Honestly, if you can trade if you could trade through a market like this and still be profitable at the end of the month, you can pretty much trade through any market. Because this market, if you guys have been trading with me since the 1st of February, this like whole entire month has been super choppy. So there's been some days where the trades have been really good. Obviously, you guys have seen my profits on those days. I'll make like a lot of profits and I'll take more trades. But like, for example, today I took trades pre-market and I took trades at one trade during Asia. And I mean, that's pretty much all I locked in. I didn't really take anything else because there's nothing else for me to take here, especially during the live sessions. I know it's frustrating because a lot of you guys only focus on the live, but there's just nothing for us to take here. And I don't want to give you guys bad trades because that's just going to teach you guys bad habits. So I don't think you guys should force anything. Just wait for an actual entry. Even if it doesn't come up, it's better to have no losses than to have a loss based off like FOMO or just taking, bad analysis. But it looks like a lot of you guys here are still profiting off my analysis because I'm pretty much just analyzing what I see on the market. There's no official entries though, because the only way for it to be official is if these strategies here are presented. None of these strategies have come up yet. There was one here that came up, but it was at the sessions right there, so we couldn't take it. Let's see. Pam said, Sean, sometimes you mark of where you want price to be before you mark trades. Is that usually above or below the purple lines? Sorry, Pam, let me read your question again. See, sometimes you mark of where you want price to be before you mark the trades. Is that usually? Sorry, Pam. I think your question was like a lot earlier. So I'm going to skip over that question because I think you moved on to another question. This was like at 6:28. We had a lot of messages come up here in the chat. So I'm just going to, okay. Yeah. So for the, like where I put a circle. So where I was circling earlier, I was just circling these lines here. So like, basically I was circling this purple line and I was circling this green line. I was showing that this is where you don't want to trade. So like, for example, here for the red flags, like earlier over here, we had a sell entry that came up, but it was right at the green line, right? So like, that's a red flag. That's when to avoid trades right here. This green line, purple line, and red line, those are going to be considered sessions. So you just want to avoid trades when price is near it. So if price is touching it or price has to cross it, like, so for example, right here, there was a sell entry that came up over here and we could have taken it, but the problem was that it'd have to cut through the sessions right here, right? So I just put the circle there to indicate that if price pushes through here, like, or it has to push through here, it's not going to be an entry that we could take because that's where I avoid trades. And then same with the red, with the purple line down here. Like if price was to provide an entry at that point, I wouldn't take it because it would have to cut through the sessions right there in order for me to reach my profit target, which of course it played out, but being on the safe side, I don't trade around these areas at all. So that's why I draw the circles there, but there's no specific criteria to it. It's just, that's where I avoid trades in general. Let me scroll back up real quick. Sorry, guys. There's a lot of messages that came up in the Zoom chat. So I'm going to try to get through any questions here that I missed. All right. Okay, so Christian was asking if this would be considered a big candle. Yes, I would consider that a big candle. Christian's asking if I would consider this a high-low scalp. Yeah, it'd be or let me see. Your question was at 7:30. So I think you're talking about this red candle right here, Christian. Yeah, this would be considered a high-low scalp, but it's at the sessions. So it wouldn't be an entry. Patricia said she's not liking this market right now, staying out. Seems too overextended. Yeah, and I agree with you too, Patricia. That's why I'm not looking to take anything yet. There's a possible momentum scalp right here, momentum scalp failure, guys, but it's not one that we would necessarily take because it, again, is at the sessions. It's just not a good area right here. Price tends to be highly manipulated around these sessions. So that's why it's one of the red flags. So like basically when price is around this area, there's technically a momentum scalp failure, but it's not one that I would personally take because as I mentioned, it's like right at the, it's right at the sessions. So you can see whenever price gets near any of these horizontal lines, whether it be purple, blue, green, or red, you guys can see that a lot of uncertainty happens in the market. There's no clear direction as to where price is going. It just kind of bounces around a bit. So for the most part, this isn't going to be an area where I'm looking to take any trades. Like I need price to get away from the sessions before I can take anything around these areas here specifically. Scrolling down real quick. Kenny said he can't wait until Biden gets kicked out of office. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, now that Trump's announced his presidency, it's going to be pretty interesting when they start campaigning and you start to see a lot of crazy stuff going on. Yeah, Vincent's asking if that was a momentum scalp failure. Yeah, so it was right there, but it was right at the session. So not one that I would take. So like, here's what I would do. So like, I'll just turn everything off here, or yeah, I'll just turn everything off first so that you guys can see. All right, so you guys can see here, whenever price gets near any of these lines here that I have on the chart, so like for example, this purple line up here, right? You guys can see that price gets manipulated, right? Price pushes up, it fakes out, and then just goes sideways for a little bit before it comes back down. When price gets down to this blue line over here, it does the same thing. Price goes sideways, bounces up, gets this purple line, same thing. So this is why I don't trade around these areas here, because if you're looking for a buy here, you can get screwed. Or if you're looking for a sell here, you can get screwed as well. It's just not a good area to trade, right? Even like where price is currently at right now, this purple line, you can see the last time price came down to this point, price came down and then it bounced off there. Came right here, it faked out below, went sideways for a bit, and now it's back up. So this is the main reason why I don't trade around these red flags, which we would consider risky entries, because there's no reason for us to take any risk there when it's super unnecessary. All right, so here goes. Price bounces back around. Still nothing for us to take here, but price is bouncing around at the moment. Yeah, no problem, Vince. Maddie said he closes MT4 for the day. Probably good decision because of the crazy movement right now. All right, guys, it's getting close to 8. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. If there's any of these strategies here that you guys don't understand, just let me know and I'll show you an example. But for the most part, there's just nothing for us to take here right now. All right. Yeah, so price is still bouncing back and forth right here. It looks like we're getting a buy signal here on the 5. Not really too much going on though. All right. All right, so there's no direction. I mean, it looks like price is attempting to swing back up, but I mean, there really isn't much of a confirmation here. Looking back on the hard time frames, there's no rejections off the wicks or off the pivots, actually. There isn't really much of a direction here. I mean, overall trend here is still bearish, but if you look over here on the 1 hour and the 30-minute, there's no wick rejections off any of these pivots. So like, if I saw a top wick rejection off the 30 and the 1, then I would maybe be looking for a sell. But at the moment right now, there's just nothing for us to follow. I mean, there's a pending sell rejection over here on the 10-minute, but it does not look like it's going to close necessarily. All right, so we got one wick rejection right there. Nothing off the 10, I mean the 5 though. The 5 looks like it's still pushing up. So for me personally, here's the clean chart. So my target price point right here would probably be opening price. That's probably where I see price pushing to. But it's just a frustrating market. The main thing about this, guys, is that even though it's a frustrating market, you shouldn't let it mess with your emotions. So like, don't let it have you FOMO into a trade. Like if you see price pushing up right here, don't chase the buy, right? I can already tell a lot of people are probably getting frustrated and they want to take a trade. So they're looking to just hop into a buy here and try to ride this up to open. Although I think price will maybe come up to open, I don't think it's a good decision to just take a buy here and pray that it goes up to that price point, because price can easily just shift back around and come back down super heavy. The reason why I could see price coming back down is because the 10-minute over here rejected off the pivot, right? So, I mean, while price can push up, it can also come down. So I would definitely be careful. So, all right, guys, it's getting close to 8. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, I guess we could hang out for a little bit, see if there's anything that we can get here. But overall, it's just not looking like anything for us to take here. Yeah, Martha said nothing for me today. No official trades called, and pricing was just uncomfortable for me and my knowledge level at this point. Have a great rest of your day. Definitely, Martha. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Yeah, David said it's kind of frustrating for beginners. This type of market last year was way different. Yeah, I think when you started with me last year, David, the market was super smooth. You had like straight wins almost every day because the market was like moving directional. This month in general, it just hasn't been moving directional at all. So if you guys are new to trading, I mean, don't feel discouraged because you might think that the market's always like this, but realistically, the market's never like this. It's only been like this for the past couple of weeks. For the month of February, the month of January is perfect. We had good entries all throughout the month. This month, I can't wait for this month to be over. Honestly, we have about a week left in this month. So hopefully, by the end of this week or by the end of next week, we'll start to get some sort of direction. Next week's it's March next week. And I think market will start to move smooth. It's really like, this is a game of endurance, right? Trading is like a game of endurance. How long can you last until you make it or you break it? A lot of people break it, obviously, because they get super impatient and they just don't want to wait for any entries. But if you guys are patient enough to, wait for the market to smoothen out again, then you'll be able to, reap the fruits of your labor, really. So it's really just a matter of patience, guys. There hasn't been many entries this entire month. I think this whole month, there's only like 11 entries that were called on the live. We had 3 losses. 2 of them were my fault because I was getting FOMO myself. It doesn't matter how long you guys have been trading for, you'll still get FOMO and you'll still make mistakes. So 2 of the 3 trades that we lost this month were my mistake. I jumped into a trade without fully analyzing it, and that was my fault. But for the most part, this whole month has just been kind of slow. Yeah, there's just nothing for us to take here. If price comes back below, so like here's one thing that you can look out for. If price comes back below the pivots and closes below it, it'll be an entry for a momentum scalp variation, then possibly a momentum scalp. But at the moment, it's not necessarily looking like that because there just isn't any direction with regard to price coming back down. I mean, one thing that I'd probably be looking for is a wick rejection here on the 5-minute, but I don't even know if we'll get that. So we'll I guess we'll just have to wait and see. All right, guys, it's getting close to 8. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, it looks like we'll be wrapping this up soon. I don't want you guys to get any FOMO looking for any entries here. I can already see a couple of messages coming in. People are asking about this wick rejection that I just circled right here. It does not look like it's going to close. So if it doesn't close, I don't think there's going to be any hint of any drop back down. If it does close with a wick rejection off the top, then it may drop slightly, but it's looking kind of iffy right now because the candle here isn't very clear as to whether it's going to reject off the bottom. So it did reject off the bottom there. I mean, off the top. So there's a possibility of it coming back down at least a little bit, but I wouldn't necessarily bank on it too much, just yet. The reason why I'm anticipating this to correct back down is because here's the hint, right? The hint on the 10-minute is that we had the wick rejection off the pivot, or actually this is still pending. So this thing here still has about like 4 minutes left on it. But so basically, if you get like a double wick rejection on both these time frames, this is usually a hint that price is going to correct, back down. The reason why I'm expecting the correction back down is because the higher time frames over here are still bearish. So you can see over here on the 1 hour, price is still coming down. Price is still coming down here on the 30-minute, and then lastly here on the 10-minute, price is also coming down, right? With the wick rejection right here that's currently pending. So if all the higher time frames are angling to the downside, odds of price dropping lower are very likely. The main thing that you need to focus on here is the lower time frames to confirm that that's going to happen, right? Hasn't confirmed yet, so I wouldn't necessarily bank on it too much. But if you get a wick rejection on here, odds of it coming down at least to retest the sessions down here are very likely. But for the most part, I think you guys should probably just sit out the market. So, all right, guys, that's it for today. Unfortunately, there's no official entries. There's no direction pretty much all session today. Price just kept going back and forth. So there's nothing that we could really take here that we would consider safe or worthwhile. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. You can email me, Sean@KodiKaiTrades.com. Otherwise, you guys can message me on Telegram. Telegram is the fastest way to get in touch with me. But if not, I'll see you guys back here tomorrow for, is tomorrow Thursday? Yeah, tomorrow's Thursday. So I'll be back here tomorrow for the next live session, Thursday, February 23rd, as we continue on with this trading week. Keep in mind, if you guys decide to trade later, the Fed meeting minutes are coming out at 11. So I probably would hold off on trading because you might start to see some crazy movement around that time. So, all right, guys, that's it for today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out.